if you haven't subscribed yet, then please do. Well, enjoy the time lapse. Okay, so right here I have a drawing that's not yet colored of the characters in Yoru ni Kakeru song. You know that Yoru ni Kakeru song? La 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 la. Yeah, I'm singing it or else I'm gonna get copyrighted. Spoiler alert, they both die at the end. Anyway, let's get coloring and let's get to the tips. Step 1. Base color. First, use the fill tool and fill in everything with base color. The fill tool never really fills through all of the gaps, especially on the edges, which is really annoying. So, you want to have all those edges filled up or else it will look unfinished like my math test. Personally, I always use less saturated colors for base colors because later on, we will add shadows, highlights, overlays on that base color. You don't want to make the end result oversaturated. Here's an example of an oversaturated artwork. This was my very first digital artwork using Medibang Paint Pro. I strongly think that this is too saturated. Like, look at that skin tone. I intended for him to have like peach color for the skin, but it ended up looking too dark for peach. Why did this happen? Cause I didn't use peach white as the base color. I used freaking orange. On the other hand, this artwork kinda looks better, I guess. The skin color looks peach. It doesn't look oversaturated like the previous artwork because I used peach white as the base color. I didn't use an oversaturated base color. Moral of the story, use a less saturated base color. You want to make your artwork look pleasant to the user's eyes. I mean to the audience's eyes. Why am I saying user? Oh my gosh. Step 2. Multiply. Multiply is a blending mode or a layer type that automatically changes your color to shadows. So here's my digital art program. It's called Medibang Paint Pro. So let me just begin by creating a new file. Okay, so here I will demonstrate to you how multiply blending mode works. So we already have one layer. Let's say we want it like orange. Okay, let's create a circle. So what you want to do next is you create a new layer and then you clip it above by selecting clipping, because if you don't clip it, then this is gonna happen. Whatever you put above this, it's going to go outside of the circle. However, if you put clipping, then it's not going to go out. Understand? Okay, good. So let's create a new layer, set it to clipping, and now this blending mode, you want to select this, not normal but multiply. If you select it to multiply, then if you add the same color to this, it will automatically be darker, a shadow. Let's see. Look, it's not orange, it's red. It's darker. So this is how multiply works. So right now, I'm adding multiply to my Yoru ni Kakeru artwork. I use the wet watercolor, the normal watercolor, and soft eraser and airbrush for all of my artworks. Like only those brushes. I don't really like to use fancy brushes. Step 3. Screen. Screen is also a blending mode, but opposite of multiply, it generates highlights. Okay, back with this circle. Now let me demonstrate to you how screen works. Same thing, you add a new layer, set it to clipping, and then for the blending mode, you select screen. You use the exact same color as the base color, and after that, you just add it here. See? It's automatically lighter. It's yellow. And that is how screen works. It transforms the color to a highlight. Right here, I'm adding screen to the hair. Step 4. Overlay. Now, overlay is the most interesting and honestly one of my favorite blending modes. Right here, we have a purple circle, and let's add a new layer, set it to clipping, and the blending mode, set it to overlay. First of all, let me use an airbrush to make it smooth, and then let's use the color dark blue so that a shadow is generated. Here we go. A dark purple shadow is generated, and then let's add some highlight by using, let's say, light blue, like cyan. Okay, looking quite good. And the interesting part about overlay is that you literally can put any colors. Like, let's say I want to put yellow here, And it doesn't look weird. It still works here. And let's say maybe pink. Or orange. And it's all still okay. And this is the interesting part about overlay. If you don't use the overlay layer, then it's like just plain purple. But if you use it, it's gonna be more glimmering. However, don't make the opacity full or else it's gonna be a little bit too rainbowish. I just played around with random colors to give the hair more personality and vibrancy. Step 5. Add. Last but not least, this add layer is also a blending mode and it is for that sparkly, shining, shimmering, splendid. Let's use add layer. So here, let's add a new layer, set it to clipping, and set the blending mode to add. And now let's see if I use the exact same color as the base color, and let me use an airbrush. And let's brush it over here. Ooh. It's shining, and maybe this is a little bit too shining, so maybe you want to just decrease the opacity a little bit. But yeah, this is pretty much how add works. It creates extra shines. I usually use an airbrush when applying add to make it look smoother, because add kind of gives an abrupt difference in color, so you want to make it smooth. If you don't know what color to use for add, just use the original base color, and also don't make the opacity full or else it's gonna be like too shiny, shimmering, splendid. As you're watching this time lapse, let's just have a little chit chat because I'm really bored. Have you ever felt lazy, tired, unmotivated to do anything? Like the idea of getting up in the morning, changing your clothes, and working on something super productive, it just gets you overwhelmed. It's like all you want to do is just lie on your bed and sleep all day. Procrastinating is no longer a bad habit, it turns into a lifestyle. Guess what? Me too. Editing Maro here. So I'm actually supposed to be studying for my math test, which is tomorrow. But I'm working on this YouTube video instead because priorities. No. I promise I will immediately study for my math test right after this. And this is the reason why I disappeared from YouTube for like half a year. I also disappeared from my Instagram art account for over 2 months already. The longer I stray away from making YouTube animations and making Instagram artworks, the guiltier I felt when thinking about it. It's like there's this monster in my head that says, Maro, didn't you promise that last year you were super excited for this YouTube idea and that you would prioritize it over everything else? I know, Miss Inner Critique, but sometimes you just get lazy, right? I noticed there's a lot of internal and external pressure that forces me to be productive all the time. If I'm not productive all the time, then I'm wasting my time. Yes, it is good to be productive, but hell not all the time. The last time I stayed up till 3 a.m. to cram study my exam, I nearly failed. Being too productive sometimes can lead you to burnout. You know, burnout? Yep, that's the feeling that I described in the beginning of this chit-chat session. Whoops. Talking about not getting enough sleep, I'm pretty experienced with that myself, honestly. I'm a high school student, and by the way, I take the IB program, and that's like the high school program that kind of makes me not sleep.
No, just kidding. It's just me. I have time management issues. It's not the IB, it's me.
But like, this is like my last year of high school. I don't want my last year of high school to be filled with stress. Of course, getting good grades will make my Asian parents proud. It will also give me some ego boost thinking that,
oh, I'm really smart, I can get a 7 in math higher level.
But like, if I stress too much about it, I'm gonna be burnt out. I'm not gonna be motivated to draw, even though drawing is my #1 hobby. And that really sucks.
That makes me feel so guilty, and I don't want that to happen again.
So please, Maro, do not stress about IB this year.